This morning I want to talk with everyone gathered here today about a theme that is a little bit more broad than Chaye Sarah, our parsha that we read this morning. I want to talk about a theme that makes its way all throughout Sefer Breshit, all throughout the book of Genesis, and that is the theme of dreams. Dreams. And the question I want to ask everyone this morning, and maybe we'll come back together and discuss it, let's say after the third Aliyah, is whether or not our dreams and visions have actual power, or whether or not, when Herzl said, Im tirtzu ein zo agada, if you will it, it is no dream, that was just a figure of speech. Okay, and of course, agada does not mean a dream, but it does mean a story or a legend. And we know that contained within legends and all of these various things is a degree of power. In this parsha that we're going to see this week in particular, we have a moment with Damesek Eliezer. Eliezer is the name that the rabbis give to Abraham's servant. After Abraham buries his wife Sarah, he sends the servant out to the land of Haran, where he is from, and he sends that servant out with a particular mission. That mission is to find a wife for Isaac. And so what does that servant do in anticipation of that particular trip? He has a vision. He has a dream for what it is that he hopes and expects that he will see. Damesek Eliezer prays to God, God, how will I know who the right girl is to marry my master's son Isaac? I hope and I pray that when I get there, she will be the girl at the well who I will meet. And she will not only offer to give water to me, a thirsty traveler, but she will give water to all of my many camels. How many of you have ever ridden on a camel, by the way? Show of hands. They're huge. I felt the whole time thinking like I was going to fall off, okay? Especially when they rock back and forth as you're trying to get up, right? Some people like to take the little stairs up. I heard in Egypt they give you the stairs. In Israel, they just give you the royal treatment. They make you sit and they go you back and forth. But anyway, the camels take a lot of water. And so that would not only be a demonstration of her generosity, but on some level, a fulfillment of that servant's dream and vision for what it is that he hoped and expected to see. If in fact that Rebecca did what she was going to do, then the words of that dream had weight. It's not just metaphorical. It's not just im tirtzu ein zo agada. It holds actual weight and sway in the world at large. So again, to repeat the question, we're going to come back together in a couple of Aliyahs. Are our dreams, or what we experience in our dreams, metaphorical or real? We'll come back together and discuss that in a little bit. Let's begin with our first Aliyah this morning. So we'll take a brief commercial break to talk about dreams. What do people think? Are our dreams real? Are they metaphorical? Are Herzl's words real? It contains in Agadah some kind of message or story of truth about the world. What are our dreams? Judith?
I've been fascinated with dreams most of my life. I've kept a dream journal since the 70s. And while they are real, they're not. And I think it's what you put into them and how you interpret them that makes them either real or not real.
So Judith said she's been keeping a dream journal since the 70s, and it's what you put into them that determines whether or not they are real or not. Any Freudians here have different interpretations? Yeah. Jamie, go ahead.
I think also dreams can be self-fulfilling prophecies. Like you have a dream, you think about it, you decide you're going to see it, in what you see around you that is sort of, affirms what you already think you've dreamt. You find things that there's a word for that.
No idea. Jamie said that she thinks that dreams can be a little bit like a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes. It reflects something that you hope or aspire to, perhaps, in your life. Yeah. Other things about dreams? Allison?
I just have a question.
Sure.
I think it's interesting in the English language that the word dream is the word for the visions we see in our sleep, but also for our hopes and wants for the future.
There you go.
And they may or may not be the same. Sometimes my dreams feel strange, and I'm not like you, I'm not a visual dreamer. But I was wondering, in Hebrew, is the word the same as well?
No, it's not the same word. Okay, so Allison is saying that in the English language, it's interesting because the word dream is not only when we are sleeping, but perhaps is a word from when we are awake in our visions for what we think about real life, and was curious whether that is the same word in Hebrew. In fact, it's not. The word chalom is when you're sleeping. I would say the word chazon is really like a vision, right, to have a vision. There's actually a Jewish environmental group today with that name, Chazon. That's how I know that. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Arlene. Yeah.
As a child, I had a recurring dream that my friends and I, after school, walked up to a very tall building and went on the roof and flew. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, that was not real. So, having said that, I would postulate that dreams can be a little bit of both.
Yeah. Arlene is saying she had a dream that when she was younger, she and her friends ascended the top of a tall building and flew. So she knows that's not true, but dreams could be a little bit of both. Sometimes real and sometimes not exactly real. Maybe this ethereal sort of quality to them. Yeah, Robert.
I too have that dream about flying. When I wake up, I think I can do it. But I think one of my most recurring dreams is something I'm afraid of. I dream a lot that I'm not prepared for something. Going to my high school to take a test in a class I've never been to before, or I'm on a college campus, I have no books, I have no idea why I'm there. So I'm going to be tested on something. So I don't know if that means I'm afraid of not being ready or if I just get ready. That's my dream.
Robert said that he has a dream that recurs, that he's not prepared for something or not ready for something, like a college exam. I think everybody in this room has had at least that dream once. I had every once in a while where I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, oh my gosh, I registered for these 2 classes at school that I never showed up for and the professor failed me. And that ruined my GPA. I have that dream even still every now and then. Yeah.
An alternative that I sometimes have is I have on the weekend, we used to read like 17 books. Test them on Monday.
Okay. Very good.
Also dreams that he's falling and he falls out of bed.
Lauren said that Robert has dreams he's falling and then he falls out of bed. Yeah, Safa, go ahead.
I attended a seminar, and they were saying that the dream closer, to wake up in the morning is more real than
It's interesting.
wake up in the middle of the night. But when I was little, my parents used to tell me I used to have bad dreams about if God forbid somebody died or something. They say actually their life is, they're going to have a longer life. But they say if you have a really bad dream about something, you don't tell someone else, you just open the water and tell your dream to the water.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit, Safa. Very good, right? That she had, Safa saying that growing up, first of all, she attended a seminar that said that if you have a dream closer to the morning as opposed to the middle of the night, it's more likely based in reality. And it sounds like her parents had a number of customs that she passed on to her. If something had happened, it was a dream, that they had to act a certain way after that. Our rabbis are going to say something similar. I'm going to talk about that in a little while. Good, yes. With regard to one particular issue. Any more final comments? Yeah, Rabbi, please.
I don't know whether Rabbi Dorsch has had this experience, but I've had dreams, recurring dreams. I was standing on Bima. I looked out, several thousand people there for Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and I looked down and I said, oh my gosh, I don't have a sermon.
Yes, I have, actually.
Some people were happy, some people were
Rabbi Lewis said he has a dream that he didn't have his Yom Kippur sermon with him when he was on the Bima. Yes, I have had that sermon. And in fact, one year, but mine is different. Mine is I have the sermon and I get to page 6 and page 7 is missing. That's may or may not have happened in real life once. I'll leave y'all in suspense. I think on that note, we're going to close the conversation. I'll come back and share with you what the rabbis had to say, and what the rabbis said has to do with our parsha in just a few moments. We'll continue with the 4th Aliyah. So I want to broaden our conversation a little bit more even beyond dreams this morning. And I want to talk about things that have not actually come into being, but maybe, so to speak, are there in the atmosphere, in the air. Rav Ashi from the Talmud says the following about things that happen in our dreams. He says, Ef shar lachlom, there's no such way for a person to dream with a matter that is idle or insignificant. In other words, what Rav Ashi is saying, all words or all things, whether they are dreams or if they are not actual, do carry some kind of weight in the world, and therefore they are to be taken seriously. Even Arlene's dream about flying off a building, right? You have to take it seriously. And I say that because most of us would think that the answer to the question would have been obvious, and mostly along the lines of Arlene. Yes, there may be some psychosocial, dimensional dreams to dreams that we have. Perhaps they reflect something internal that we are struggling with. But in reality, a dream is just a dream. It's not something real that happens in real life. The rabbis don't agree with that sentiment at all. In fact, in a rather bizarre matter of Jewish law, the Talmud argues that if something happens to you in a dream, you have to go out and solve the crisis in real life. Reading a case of what's called ostracism, it's called being a menudeh in Jewish law. The rabbis ask the question in the Talmud, if you are ostracized in a dream from the community, what do you have to do? Does that count as a real ostracism? And the rabbis go out and say, yes, in fact, if you are ostracized from the community in a dream at night, have to go out and find 10 scholars, in essence, to dissolve that feeling of being ostracized. And not only that, but the rabbis go so far as to say that if there are not 10 scholars in your town to dissolve you of your dream and absolve you of that ostracism, again, something that didn't actually happen, then you must leave your town, sit at the crossroads between the other towns, and wait until 10 individuals who have studied Jewish law can come together and dissolve you or absolve you of that dream, of that ostracism that you have had. And so even though it was a dream and it did not really happen in real life, as Rav Ashi teaches, Ef shar lachlom below dvarim betelim. There's no such thing as a dream in your head that doesn't somehow weigh on a matter of idleness. Even if that thing has not come into reality, there is still something to be concerned about. I bring this up this Shabbat not because I want to talk about Kanye West 2 Shabbats in a row, but when Dave Chappelle asked the question in his stand-up sketch last week, is it fair to blame Yi and Kyrie Irving for the tragedies who have befallen the Jewish people throughout our history? The answer we, of course, all know is, of course not. They didn't do anything. It's just like a dream. Why would you blame people for something that they didn't do? We cannot forget, friends, that a sane person who gives a madman a loaded gun is still an accessory to murder. And if someone has a wild dream or a tweet or a monologue that isn't real, it's not something that has come to fruition, and they wield that dream carelessly because they think that it doesn't really matter, it still matters. It still holds gravity and weight in the world in which we live. Who is to say that because nothing happened, that words and tweets are like dreams, and that they can't someday become real? As our rabbi said, Ef shar lachlom below dvarim betelim. Even these matters that seem idle or trivial are still in real life. There is a British poet. His name is Arthur William Edgar O'Slossany, and he wrote one of the Romantic poets the following about the tension between dreams on the one hand being something that's not real, and on the other hand, something that can be very real at the same time. He writes, quote, that dreamers are those who wander by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams. Yet they are also the movers and the shakers of the world, forever, it seems. On the one hand, dreamers are lonely by a river, in an isolation, in a bubble, nothing happening. And on the other hand, there is something very real about our dreams that can be brought to fruition. Now, I don't want you this morning to walk away thinking that dreams are always dangerous or bad, unless you're going to jump off a building, of course. For most of us, including in our parsha this week, we see the power of our dreams in bringing about a positive outcome in the world at large. Abraham's servant, as I mentioned earlier, domestic Eliezer, has a vision and a dream for what's going to happen at the well. He thinks he's going to meet the perfect wife for Isaac. She's going to give him water to all of his camels. Like I said, that's no easy feat. And from this humble prayer to God, this one humble prayer, this vision and the dream, we cannot forget that that sets all of Jewish history into motion. If Rebekah doesn't pass that test and marry Isaac, none of us in this room exist. Because even though there's that dream, Ef shar lachalom below dvarim b'telim. There's no such thing as a dream without some kind of power, some kind of vision that brings different good moments to fruition. The problem, as I've just alluded to, is that in human history, we've also seen how often the visions, not only of how the good are transformed into reality, but how easily the dreams and the visions of those who are not so good can become real. Has anyone been following what's going on with the World Cup lately over the past few years? Qatar has the World Cup. America should have had, by all accounts, the World Cup. But due to bribery and corruption and scandal, there's a great series on Netflix. Go watch it. It just came out yesterday morning. But through all of those different factors, a dream that was not such a great dream has come to fruition. People are talking about the fact that countless workers in Qatar building these giant soccer stadiums have now died from heat exhaustion simply because of the fact that Qatar has had the World Cup. And not only have countless people died, by the way, they say the number I think is something like 6,500 people over the past couple years because of their poor human rights record. They don't know how many are due to soccer or other factors. But people there are not given decent human rights and dignity. That's a dream that should have never come to fruition based on one person having it. And that's a minor example. I didn't mention Nazi Germany. I didn't mention Vladimir Putin's Russia. I don't need to give you more examples, but when madmen deal in egos and stereotypes and bribery and money, we can see what happens when mere words, mere dreams are put into motion. It may begin with a dream, but we Jews know all too well that it hardly ever stays there. Those of you who know me know that even before cancel culture was a thing, that I'm not one particular for cancel culture. I gave a sermon about it on the high holidays a few years ago. And unless I believe that someone is an absolute bigot, I don't think we need to cancel an American comedian for telling tasteless jokes that, in my view, at times crossed a line. That said, I also don't think we need to hire Dave Chappelle for our next synagogue comedy night at Congregation Eitz Chaim. Saturday Night Live, if you ask me, hasn't been funny since Farley and Sandler, let alone Belushi, and I doubt this is going to help its positive ratings. But for me, that's not exactly important. For me, this Shabbat, what makes Dave Chappelle's controversial stand-up act worth my talking about this Shabbat is that it should be a wake-up call about the power of dreams and visions and speeches for everyone in this room. A comedian got on stage on a major platform and told jokes about the Jews running Hollywood, and there was a room full of people laughing with, to my knowledge, not one person who walked out. Our rabbis did not believe, friends, that words, let alone dreams, are without power. Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, teaches famously that the power of life and death are in the power of the tongue. And if you look at that example I brought earlier, they believed in dreams so seriously that if something terrible happened to you, you had to go out and find rabbinic sages to annul the negative effects of that dream. This Thanksgiving, we and our families have so much to be thankful for this year. God willing, we are all thankful for our health. God willing, we are all thankful for our families. God willing, we are all thankful for the love that we have in our lives. Only as Jews, we cannot forget that we have another mission in the world too. Our mission is to spread the sense of gratitude for those things in the world, the positive, and not the baseless hatred that we are seeing in the world. These are challenging times, but let all of us be the force to bring that positivity of dreams to the forefront, and may all of our dreams in this world and in this room succeed in building a better world this year. Shabbat Shalom.